Welcome, everyone. Live Audiophile Roundtable, Best Vinyl Formula, News and Picks. I'm Steve Westman. Welcome to the show. There's Quiax, there's RTI, there's Clarity, there's Super Vinyl. The list goes on. There's colored formulas, there's Echo Vinyl, Recycled Vinyl, Super Vinyl. I don't know if I said that already. And then, of course, from the 70s and 80s, Mobile Fidelity had their JVC Super Vinyl. So there's lots of vinyl. There's lots of vinyl formulas. Lots to talk about. Is there one that really sounds the best? Is there maybe it's got to do with a lot of different variables. Maybe it's the tape, the recording process of that tape, which sounds the best in a certain vinyl formula. So we'll get right to it. We'll bring in our expert panel. That's why I got them. They're experts, guys. Michael T, expert. Welcome from Seattle.
Hello, fellow expert. How are you doing, Steve?
Good. And
we are experts? I didn't know that.
Well, no, we just like to talk
geeks.
Records, and I wanted to welcome everyone. This is a later show than usual. I was working late today and just couldn't get the time. Hello, Patrick Lear. Welcome. And yeah, I mean, I want everyone. This whole thumbs up thing does help. I notice the more people that smash that button.
So you basically had to work the McDonald's drive-thru for an extra hour. The guy didn't show up.
Yeah, it's just damn. It's tough being an assistant manager at McDonald's these days.
You're an assistant man. I thought you were just a drive-thru guy.
No, I got promoted last week,
nice.
So pretty awesome.
Awesome.
I'm gonna bring in.
Give me a good deal on a Big Mac, please.
I will. So our next guest, next expert, he was hanging around New Zealand 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
With Peter Jackson from the Lord of the Rings fame.
Wow.
PB Thal is in the house.
Patrick.
Yeah, I'm back. So good to be here. I'm not an expert in vinyl formulas, but
how was that flight though? More like that. How do you manage like that?
That flight sucks. Killer. I mean, it's literally going to the other side of the world, man. So it was brutal. It was brutal on the way back because I was sick. So that was the worst part. Was being sick on a 14-hour flight back home. So
14 hours. What did you do for the 14 hours? Did you go through Discogs and look at all?
I coughed literally for 14 hours. So that's what I did.
I feel sorry for the person beside you.
That would be my wife.
Are you guys talking still?
Yeah, she didn't get sick though. I mean, I wasn't contagious. I didn't have COVID. I just had a really bad chest cold.
Yeah.
So. Everyone else thought that I was contagious, and they're all looking at me. Even though I'm wearing a mask, I'm like going,
"Oh God!"
I'm like going, "Look, man,
bringing COVID home."
Once I was in the air, I'm like going, "Screw you, people! I'm in the air. I'm good. Next time I land, I'll be in the States."
So when you got back to your house, like how quickly did you spin a record after missing it for a couple of weeks?
Like I said, I was sick. This is the first time the last couple of days has been the first time I felt had enough energy to like do anything. So I started getting back into it probably 3 or 4 days ago. Because I brought so many records. I didn't even like listen to the stuff that I brought.
We'll wait for those near the end. I want to see some of that stuff. So we're going to talk vinyl formula and bring in our last guest all the way from Seattle, Washington.
Wait, there's 2 of us in Seattle. What's going on here?
I don't know. That's because it's the time thing. But we got Brent. This is his third show, and he has a tripod today. So we're really winning.
Yes, we have a tripod finally. We're upgrading.
Brent, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me out.
Well, thank you. This is your third time on. I think you and Patrick came. The first time you came on was probably 2 years ago now, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say. I want to say that.
Been a while. I don't know. That was when we did a little try to stump Patrick, but we failed.
Failed miserably.
We did fail miserably.
I don't even bother with that. That's for sure. So why I did the show today, this whole vinyl formula, best vinyl formula, guys, is because of this right here. This is Mobile Fidelity's Miles Davis Bitches Brew. So that one was announced back, I want to say 2020, guys, 2020, 2021. Does that make sense?
It's been a while.
Right. So I'd say 3-4 years. So at the time when they announced it, they said it was going to be, an ultra disc one-step super vinyl, Neotech super vinyl. It turns out, and this is from the MoFi website, why isn't this UD1S pressed on MoFi super vinyl? So I'll just read it here. Why not? Well, listen.
Find out.
After closely auditioning Bitches Brew on several different vinyl profiles, a time-consuming and an expensive endeavor no other label pursues. Well, I believe other labels pursue that as well. They're not the only ones. I know Impex does for sure. MoFi's expert engineers, Patrick, Michael, Brent, determined the music on this 1970 album translates with superior definition, clarity, presence, dynamics, and balance on this format. This format, what is it? Well, it's
Vinyl?
the Fidelity record pressing plant's dead quiet 180 gram black vinyl instead of the Neotech super vinyl. So that sort of piqued my interest. I had a few viewers reach out to me, and Rob the Waxed as well. He mentioned it in one of his streams earlier this week as well. I think that's kind of cool that they're doing that. I think that they decided, I don't know how many theys there are, that the best sounding Bitches Brew was not going to be the Neotech Super Vinyl for whatever reason. Maybe it was the tapes, because really with the Super Vinyl, as we're well aware of, it really picks up all the definition from those tapes, right? They're still doing the one-step process, so they're not shying away from that. It's just they're not doing super vinyl, but the one-step process obviously is still in place.
Right.
So I found that
interesting. Can I add something real quick with that? Is that I brought this because I just got it like a week or so ago, and it sounds fantastic. And I just looked on the back here, and it says, down at the bottom, pressed on high definition vinyl.
Okay, put it back up again. So high definition vinyl, that's not super vinyl.
Right.
Okay. So that would be the same as Bitches Brew. Hang on, let me go back to that. Did they even say high def? Yeah, they said pressed dead quiet 180 black vinyl.
And this is 180 black vinyl.
So it's the same.
So it sounds like somebody bought a whole bunch of black vinyl.
So it's the Van Halen one step that Brent has in his hand is not super vinyl either.
But it is translucent. Because I did look at that, and I'm pretty sure you can see through it. So you tell me.
Okay, so there should be, in the inserts they do talk about Neotech.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell here, but
you can see,
you can see.
So here, it doesn't say super vinyl on it. It says high definition vinyl. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that sounds like a branding thing,
Now I'm wondering, has Fidelity record pressing actually pressed on Neotech, or are they only doing this black high definition?
You see what I'm doing there? I'm putting my cell phone from this side.
So Van Halen's not super vinyl.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
I don't know. I know it's quiet. It's very, very quiet. And I actually think that whatever they're pressing on MoFi, that's half the, well, not half, but that's part of their magic, I think, is whatever they're pressing on. I mean, that's my view, because their disc sounds so different than everything else. Is that the mastering, or is it the DSD? Or
I like what Scott said too. Like, no such thing as dead quiet vinyl. All vinyl playback has groove noise to some degree. I know Brent will agree with that.
Oh yeah,
everyone will agree with that to some extent. I know. I mean, that's the one thing with the Neotech vinyl that MoFi had been using for years, was it's supposed to be the quietest and has the most definition, right? That's what we're hearing. So, with Bitches Brew, maybe it wasn't a very well recorded record or album to begin with. Maybe maybe there was stuff on those tapes that would have really come out on the Neotech and not on just the regular vinyl. I mean, maybe that's what they were hearing. I mean, again, we're just guessing and speculating, but that's what we do in these shows, just for shits and giggles. So that could be it, right? That could be a big reason for it.
They took that card out. Remember how there used to be a card that would show you their process or whatever?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now they just put that thing on the back of the box. That's all you get.
What do you read? What's it say in the back of the box again?
Well, do you want me to put it up there? But what
Sure.
it says, okay.
Probably get a little bit of. So I'm 45 RPM. Yeah, I can't really.
Okay, let me
just read it
to
off.
you.
Whatever.
So it says, mastered by Krieg Wunderlich at Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab, Sebastopol on Gain 2, specially plated and pressed on 180 gram high definition vinyl,
High def.
45 RPM stereo with the cool white black thing, and then 1/4 inch 30 IPS analog master DSD 256 analog console, and then lathe.
So the Wax is saying he's here to call out MoFi out with another marketing blender. I'm not sure if this is a marketing blender as much as it just, I mean, the marketing is, hey, we decided we tried Neotech, we tried our high definition vinyl, and we came to the conclusion that we want the listener to have the best possible listening experience, and
at the
we
same
decided
price
on 180 gram. And I know some people are talking about the price here. I did see
They
some,
may save a couple bucks too. You never know.
so, but Neotech isn't too much more, would it be, than the regular vinyl? I can't imagine it being that much more money.
It's significantly more. I've heard that before.
Is it?
Yes.
But the one-step process, you know, obviously the plating of that's where the real costs are for the one-step, more than just the Neotech vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's having a mastering engineer cut the same lacquer 5 times or 6 times.
So Mazzy, it's no blender. If they didn't post it, it would be a blender. Then we'd have super vinyl gate, right? If they didn't post that, right? I think that's right.
Right.
But I mean,
did they offer a refund? Did they offer the people the option to refund when they found out it was not going to be?
That's what I wanted to know. I know. I talked to the Waxed Rob about this as well. I mean, again, 4 years of pre-orders, and I mean, I think what Rob is trying to say is that you pre-order this with the intention of it being a super vinyl. You paid, I guess, what was it back then? Was it $125? I would assume
it's $124.99 right now.
Yeah, $124.99.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, we know in the last 4 years, record costs of records have gone up as well. So I can't imagine that going down. I know some people are probably saying, well, maybe if it's not super vinyl, it should be $99 instead of $124.99. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. Well, in the end, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever know. I mean, it says high definition vinyl. The question is that just a in-house labeling?
Well, that's what this says here, right? It says on their website, the opening of MoFi's sister plant Fidelity record pressings and its peerless ability to press dead quiet. Scott Wheeler will love this part. 180 gram black vinyl means the label's engineers now have more options when it comes to high quality vinyl, all which benefits the original artist and their intent. Oh, they put the intent in. We're getting back. This is interesting. And now going into the artist's intent. This is a new gate because, I mean, does
that mean
it's heard about Fremer?
Does that mean if they're gonna do Jamaican reissues, are they gonna like put little pieces of paper in the vinyl so it's back to the artist's intent and how it was back in the day?
Do they dig up Miles Davis's grave and put headphones on him and say, "Hey, listen to this artist's intent"?
Yeah, I don't buy that because some of those artists back in the day, some of them were really close to the process, and some of them weren't. I mean, also after the first pressing, the band didn't have anything to do with it. I mean,
I'm pretty sure the band doesn't give a shit what formula they're using to cut the band.
Exactly.
You know what the band cares about? Their bank account.
Money. Yes, they care about the money.
So VQR, he says Mariah Carey's Christmas one set was also regular vinyl, not super vinyl. But did they advertise it and pre-order it as being a super vinyl record? Is my question.
I don't know.
What I want to find out is if we talk to Fidelity Record Pressing, did they come up with a new formulation that they call high fidelity vinyl? Are they using a different formulation in their?
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, Brent has that. You have the high quality 180 gram right in front of you, and he said it's translucent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's not. But it would have to, because Neotech is its own company, so they're using the Neotech technology. So they'd have to somewhere, if it was super vinyl.
Wait a second here. I was on Instagram and I was looking through. It took me to so you know how it's all about like what you follow, right? All of a sudden, Neotech vinyl comes up on my feed. And
they have their own Instagram account now. I saw it too.
Right. And the guy who was on there said, here, Fidelity record pressings, and this they were showing this album.
Interesting.
And I put a note on there saying, hey, it sounds really good. And the guy who was running the account said, oh, I'm so happy you're happy with it. So maybe it is still Neotech, but maybe not the same as super
I believe
vinyl.
Impex uses the same stuff, but they call it VR 900 on their box sets.
Yeah,
that's their name for Neotech. Yeah, this is the Gilberto set, but they used.
What we need to do is get a MoFi guy on here.
I would love to get a MoFi guy on, but that's never going to happen. They don't. Come
or
on
a Fidelity.
shows.
We should get a Fidelity record pressing guy on. I want to hear.
I love that.
Formulation.
Yeah.
This is such a small subset of this whole subject, though. I mean,
that's true. For sure.
MoFi is just one plant. I mean, Like I said, it's just a small subset of what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we got more to talk.
And then you have all the older formulations, like where's
JVC vinyl. You've got
the
JVC. You've got KC dash whatever 688 that was on that the Synchronicity was using. You've got YX2.
KC 569, I think it was.
We'll get into that. Don't rain on my parade. So there is.
Right,
Rob just sent me this. Look at the top here in the MoFi. It even still says limited ultra 1-step 33 RPM vinyl.
And it's a penny more for that. It was $24.99. Now it's $125.
They didn't change it, or maybe the super vinyl is the. So it still says super vinyl on their website, even though it says, why isn't the UD1S pressed on MoFi super vinyl? Why?
It sounds good. That's what I care about.
It sounds good. They basically auditioned several different vinyl profiles.
How is it feasible that it sounds better than their super vinyl, which was supposed to be the be-all, end-all of vinyl formulation? How is this possible?
MoFi needs just to change this website is what they need to do.
You know,
what they did, Patrick, is they figured out how to put in a little bit of recycled without screwing up the sound. That's what they did.
And Patrick Lear,
that is a correct statement, I believe, because Sound Matters does use VR900.
This is VR900 Neotech right here for the Because Sound Matters.
Yeah, and those are translucent too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about this. The band The Police.
Yes, Synchronicity. You think about that album?
Here's the thing. They don't have very many albums. How many albums do they have? Five or six?
But that was the one that was purple when you held it up.
Right. I'll show you in a second. But the entire Police catalog is audiophiled. Did you guys know?
Yep, it is.
Because A&M pressed on Quiex type vinyl in the 80s.
So A&M used the Canadian auto. It was basically our Canadian MoFi A&M audiophile. They pressed these audiophile A&Ms on JVC super vinyl, which is translucent as well. So all the Police albums are audiophile pressings except for Synchronicity, and that's what I wanted to talk about next. The KC600 audiophile vinyl. Well. This is translucent purple. This one was mastered by our friend
Robert Ludwig.
Bob Ludwig, yeah.
And there's about 18 variants of that cover.
Yeah.
Actually, I think there's more than that.
So
like
the entire Police catalog is all audiophiled.
Well, but I have 3 different variants. I have 5 pressings of Synchronicity, which is kind of cuckoo, but I have a purple one, I have a brown one, a black one, and then a translucent one. And they're all from, around the same period. The best one is the purple to me.
Well, some of them have that sticker. I think it's like KC something or KT something.
KC 569, yeah.
So some of them have a sticker.
I have the sticker here.
So what does it say?
You guys see that?
Can you
KC600 audiophile vinyl?
I think it's KC 569.
Yeah, I've never seen
that.
So
is this? I read somewhere. Maybe someone in the chat can tell me. I think this was pressed in Germany. It's a German vinyl.
Is it Teldec? Is it because most Teldec vinyl that I have, like I've got the Steely Dan Teldecs, they're not translucent.
No, the KC plant was in California, from what I recall.
I mean, they sold a ton of these records, so I mean, everyone and their dog owns this. It's really not.
But there's some that aren't translucent. There's some that were not pressed with that.
So what? This one's worth $12 to sell instead of $8.
No, if it's really good condition.
This one's great. It's Robert.
You can get $30 for that.
It has RL in the dead wax as well. Not every. If you look, not every matrix with Synchronicity has RL in the dead wax. Only.
I've never heard a bad version of that album.
That's like you never hear a bad version of Donald Fagen's The Nightfly either. Pretty much, right?
Right.
Okay, so another.
By the way, I want to shout out the 12-inch 45 RPM UK singles off Synchronicity sound amazing. I have a couple.
And that Nightfly is a Quiex as well. So
are they a Quiex?
Michael, you were mentioned. Is that the like the 45 RPM singles of like
12-inch singles from the UK? I have a couple off Synchronicity.
Yeah, I have Wrapped Around Your Finger. I just got it.
That's the one I have. I have that one. Yeah, I have that one.
And it sounds amazing.
They sound amazing.
The thing about Nightfly is that the Japanese pressing. I'm not a Japanese pressing guy, but the Japanese pressing of Nightfly was cut by Robert Love. They sent the plates over to Japan. So comparing that to the U.S. is always interesting because the Japanese vinyl is normally of better quality. They just don't have as good a mastering, in my opinion.
Interesting.
But in that case, the RL was the plates were sent to Japan, so it's a case.
I had an idea when I wanted Rhino to do this on the Rhino Hi-Fi label, and they're not going to. Do you want to know why?
Too much money.
Well, no, because it's not. I mean, it's technically digital, even though it's digital tape, and they want to just have the analog, no digital chain at all, just all analog. So that's why this is not ever going to be a Rhino Hi-Fi.
Could be a Rhino Reserve, maybe, but those are obscure titles. Yeah, that's too famous, right?
So yeah, I like this one. This is one that I'll always keep with me. This is one of the you bury me with this one, Patrick. Well, maybe not, but I like it.
That one sounds funky to me. I always thought the one step of that sounded funky.
Here's another one. So this is the OG Bowie Diamond Dogs. This is the Dynaflex.
Those original Bowie sound amazing. I recently got a couple. They sound awesome.
Sounds awesome.
Their reference quality. Yeah.
I brought my
you got it.
My transformer.
There you go. Yeah, I have that as well. I also have the speaker's corner one.
I do have to say the UK sounds better to me. It's not
and some people like the Japanese pressings too. I've heard of David Bowie. I don't know.
You can also get those Green Label International ones that they put out later. That was cut by Aaron in the UK. Those sound great.
So I think Jazz Bums, and it's so funny. I think he's reading my mind. I was about to say this as well, and this is a good point. Is it possible that some recordings work better on different types of vinyl? And I think that's exactly what's happened here with Bitches Brew. That's 1970, right? So that's a Columbia. Is that's who had recorded that back in 1970? It wasn't Van Gelder.
What
Who
album?
was the engineer in 1970?
What album?
Bitches Brew, Miles Davis.
Was it like Teo?
Teo, yeah.
Teo
So I think my point is, I think depending on the quality of the tape or the sound of the tape, maybe MoFi listened to it on the Neotech Super Vinyl and their own vinyl. I'm like, oh man, we like the sound of the 180 gram.
I don't know where my.
What do they call it?
Remember, MoFi also says they like the sound of DSD. So that's what MoFi says as well. So.
Well, you also have to take into account the playback equipment. Depending on your cart. What about your stylus shape or profile, your cartridge, your phono stage? All those things matter in the reproduction. So it's like they say it was the best sounding for them. Well, maybe that was on the 5 people that check their test pressings. Who knows? I mean,
Scott Wheeler, what can the vinyl formula do other than affect the noise? It isn't going to act as a passive EQ.
I don't know. I guess it depends on noise floor, because if the noise floor is really, really low, then it may not mask some of the frequencies that are coming through from the signal. Because
shouldn't the mastering engineer then take care of that?
I was about to say that, right?
when if that's the case, then the mastering engineer should compensate for it and make it sound as good as humanly possible on that formulation. So that's the job of the mastering engineer.
That's why they do the test pressings, probably, to say, oh, we did okay here, or whatever.
Does the mastering engineer always know what formulation it's going to be pressed on? We don't know that.
That's a question. We need to ask Kevin Gray or somebody like that.
Well, I know Kevin Gray's thoughts on one step. So if he knows it's a one step, he's not going to do a one step mastering.
Right. But I mean, just in general, even like with the Rhino Hi-Fi stuff, like what is Rhino Hi-Fi on?
It's optimal.
But do you know the compound they're using by chance?
I do not know.
It might be proprietary. It might be proprietary for all we know.
Could be, because theirs have a similar sound to MoFi, in my mind.
I don't think vinyl formulas personally have a sound, so to speak. They may be a better quality than others.
It's definition of the tape.
Noise floor is what I think.
Right.
So.
And that's why, and that's from when I, all these years when I got into the MoFi one steps, they were, years back. If you read a lot of those articles, if you go back to the very first press release of 2016, when MoFi announced the Santana one step, they were pounding it on this Neotech. This is the, the next greatest thing on earth.
Mm-hmm.
right?
I've
At the
heard some
time.
super vinyl stuff. I thought the super vinyl stuff was better sounding than the clarity vinyl. It's definitely quieter than clarity vinyl, which I think is one of the worst formulas possible. But
Oh
But
yeah,
but
clarity vinyl.
the
Yeah, let's
current
get on
the,
that
the
topic.
current clarity
We'll get there.
vinyl is different than the one that Mike Hobson used for classic, isn't
Well,
it?
here we go.
They're not
This
the
is
same.
a Quiet. This is my Miles Davis kind of
Quiet
Quiet Classic
Quiet
Records,
2.
and it says
Yes.
super vinyl profile here.
Yeah, but those sound pretty good in
This
general.
is a good
I
sounding
think.
record. Yeah.
I'm talking about the kind of blue that came out on the one step. So that clarity vinyl,
Are
which
you
I
talking
had
the
to get
stuff that Chad uses?
Yes, I had to get 2 of them because they were
Yeah.
so noisy.
The surface noise is a
Yeah.
lot
But you know
higher.
what? A lot of those Quiexes were pressed at a different place, and they had no experience pressing them. They lost their contract with RTI, and they went to a place called Bill Smith Custom Records. So part of it was using a different pressing
Bill?
plant.
Well, part of the problem was the 200-gram bullshit too. So that was.
Yeah, that too.
So
But
like
after-
maybe we could Michael T and maybe PB Thal or even Steve. Like I always wonder, like, you know, like this is kind of, I don't know if I should say this name here, but Tom Port is all like, you know, heavy vinyl era sucks. And I kind of agree in a lot of ways because the old thin stuff, you know,
The
like that
120
Dynaflex,
the 120 grand Dynaflex.
they sound
it is.
freaking amazing.
I know it
And
does.
they do.
You're gonna make
So
that
why-
noise, Brent.
And I have a really thin pressing of on Mercury Records of Def Leppard's Pyromania, cut by Howie Weinberg. Sounds amazing. It's really thin.
So I
probably
heard
80
the
grand.
only reason they're doing the heavy vinyl is to keep it from warping. That's what I heard.
But there's still
And some of
warping.
that, and most of that shit was warped to begin with.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Right.
It was a complete failure. So
Yeah.
Then they just doubled down and said, "Look, we know better." So yeah.
So I mean, I guess I'm trying to understand what's the myth behind 180 to 200. Is that just a flatter, deader slab? Is that what?
I can't
Because I
remember
don't
the marketing,
see that
but
as an improvement, to be honest
Well,
with you.
as the records get thicker, it's harder to control the non-fill on the stamper. I've heard that too.
Well, yes, right.
and then you've got BTA issues because the vinyl's thicker. So
Exactly,
if you're
that
really
too.
susceptible,
Right.
if you're really susceptible, then you've got that problem. So
Right.
Well,
So
I think you're right though, Patrick. You know, it's obviously warping. If it's a heavier vinyl, that's a big thing.
I mean, Classic did 150, 180, and 200. So like I think the Led Zeppelin titles came out in all 3 formula weights.
Yeah.
And I think I've had most of them and compared them. There's no difference.
So if you're doing 180 or 200, Brent, then I think I would assume one of the issues they're trying to get rid of is the groove wear, right? It's not going to wear out as quickly because it's
really
thicker, possibly. I'm guessing.
I mean, have you ever worn out a record?
I've never one.
I've never worn one out either. Never.
But
no.
again,
I have records that I had as a kid that I played on a ceramic cartridge, and they still sound.
well, and they're
fine.
120 grams. So if that's part of the argument, we have to have it thick so it doesn't wear out. Then that doesn't work for me because I've got a shitload
Well, and do they really
OGs
care
that are
about
120.
wear out? Because they'd rather sell you another one if you wore it out. I mean, I think what it is just the vinyl formulations are probably.
I've got some old Atco records that are beat to shit that still sound good. I mean, those things have been like thrown across the room. You know?
I had a couple that have like styrene in it. You know, like you can tell, but you can actually look at it and you can see like fiberglass in the record almost.
I've got some that have paper in it from old labels that they reground that stuff up.
See, people are saying marketing gimmick, marketing.
Yeah, I think
Christopher
that could be.
Echo vinyl sounds terrible. The new Cure, is noisy as heck. I have the Cure, the Miles Shoal double 45 Miles Shoal Cure. It sounds way better than the Bernie Grimes.
The live one sounds better than the regular album, if you ask me. I have that live version and it sounds amazing. Thickness affects reflection. Yeah, it probably does. But why would you press everything on a heavier vinyl? That's more to ship. That's more to pack.
Cost.
Yeah, bigger sleeves.
And on top of that, Mike Hobson of Classic, for a while, he was pressing single-sided 45s, claiming that the grooves on the other side would affect the the record having grooves on both sides. So he did single-sided records.
What are your thoughts
I
on
don't
that,
know.
Michael?
I don't know. I have the Royal Ballet as a 9 LP box set, 45.
That's too many records.
It's too many records to turn over. Yeah. But I don't know. Do you think having grooves on the opposite side is affecting the record sitting on the platter?
33,
I
not
don't
45.
think so.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I heard you don't want grooves only on one side because then the disc has.
Yeah. So
You
what
know.
happened with my Royal Ballet? It was all dish warped, and I borrowed a flattener from my friend Ed at Audio Ultra, and I flattened them.
Right.
Having one side stamped will cause the records to be dished.
That's right. So my old school, I have Mad Season, the first OG pressing,
I have
and
that
they
too.
have, yeah, and it has the
The
inscription. Oh,
Yeah.
that is so killer. And I'm wondering if like, does that help keep it like in a way, like unintentionally flatter?
Man,
Yeah, pull that out. And
I'm never going to
show
live this
that.
down. I don't know
Yeah.
about flat transfer.
So this is
Patrick.
what he's talking about. Some bands would do this. They would put. You want to hold this up? This is Mad Season, and the fourth side. The fourth side has Mad Season inscribed. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Or no?
Yes, that is so cool. Yeah, I mean,
I think Allison Chains did this too in one of the
Alice in
records.
Chains did it too for Jar of Flies.
Yes, I have that one too.
I have that one too, but that kind of like I don't know
Johnny
how that
Winter.
affects
Johnny Winter
things.
had a blank side 4 on Second Winter, and
But that's such a cool way
I've never seen a dish one
to
there.
manage, like when you only have 3 sides of music.
Yeah.
You know, because that was CD era, right? So there was too much music probably for 2 sides.
I met 2 of the guys at a record store day about 12 years ago, and I had 2 of them sign it.
Oh,
Jimmy
cool.
Freeze and Mike McCready. Yeah.
That's a
nice.
killer sounding record in
What
general.
was the earliest Quiex type vinyl? This is the earliest thing that I ever saw.
Probably about 82. No.
No. This
That's gotta be
Honky
a
Chateau.
Reissues.
This Honky Chateau is an original DJM. The original DJMs were, see how you can see the light. So,
but they weren't calling him Quiex till about 81.
no,
82.
they didn't call it Quiex, but these are Crimson and they are Quiex formula. They have the same translucence as later Quiex. So this is the first time this is the first era
So
that
did
I
all
ever
that stuff
saw.
kind of come out of Japan though?
No, this is
like
not out of Japan. This is UK. This is UK press. This is UK first press of Honky Chateau.
Right, but I mean, didn't like Japan was the ones who were pushing the industry in the late 70s.
And
so this was early
in general?
70s. This was like 73, 74. All the early Elton Johns were on that. The early DJMs were in those. So this is early 70s.
Right. I'm just thinking the like, Sansui and, all those big Japanese companies at the time, the heyday of hi-fi from like 71 to 77. It seemed like everything came out of Japan. That was the innovation.
But I didn't see Japan vinyl that has that translucence. So Japan just had quiet ass vinyl. They had great vinyl.
That's true.
But it wasn't translucent. This stuff is translucent. This is from the early 70s.
Yeah.
That's the earliest that I've ever seen.
Somebody needs to do a paper on where vinyl formulas over the years,
So Christopher's saying, look out, everyone's pulling out vinyl as long as we're only pulling out vinyl tonight.
Yeah, don't be pulling out anything else.
That's it.
What else would you be pulling out when you're talking about vinyl formulation?
Just don't, get excited, Patrick.
Steve, I don't know if you want to talk about this at all, but
what is this? Oh, Joe Jackson. Here. Yeah, we'll get to that as well.
Okay, we can.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But what I was going to say is on here it says this record has been pressed on audiophile virgin vinyl.
All right, so put it up. What are the folks seeing?
So this is this record, Body and Soul. This is an OG.
Okay. I'm putting up my intervention one.
And this is and Steve's putting up the intervention that was just repressed.
By the way, guys that are watching, this sounds amazing, and it was a digital cut.
That's repressed at Gotta Groove Records.
And it was Gotta Groove Records. And it's a thick vinyl as well. Feels really thick.
So what the bottom of this says, not all the pressings had this, but only the early OG ones. It says the record has been pressed on audiophile virgin vinyl owing to the above average running time of each side. This record has been cut at a below average level to avoid distortion. It will sound quieter than most contemporary recordings. If in doubt, turn it up. And I actually think it's a loud cut vinyl. compared to the intervention. I played them back to back. The intervention is much quieter,
Yeah.
or like level wise.
There's some other lists. So like this one right here is Billy
What do you-
Squier, Emotions in Motion.
Oh, yeah.
So this is, it says special limited edition. And
I remember
then on
that.
the bottom it says virgin vinyl pressing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Capitol had a series like I think the self-titled Heart album that came out on Capitol also has a version like this. So they did a few
1985,
one-offs.
yes.
REO High Infidelity also was another one like this. And Don't Say No was cut by Stan Ricker in the same like this as well. So
That
Capitol
was
had
promo only.
a few like that.
Dan Ricker.
Yeah, that was a promo. So there was interesting one-offs here and there from regular labels, you know, that had special formulas, and they advertised it as such. But
It
like
definitely
Superdisc
matters.
was another one. Superdisc was another one that said here,
Yeah, that's the one.
featuring sound quality and it extended dynamic range. You know, so they had all the hype. You know, yeah. See, Michael T's
Original
got the same thing.
master.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, they used the buzzwords even way back then. You know, so.
Direct Disc
Yeah.
Labs. That was Superdisc. Yes.
Direct disc, yeah. Hey,
So
I'm
not to be
thinking
confused
next.
with Nautilus. Don't confuse that with Nautilus because to me
No.
those are way better than Nautilus ever were.
Yeah, way better.
So next time we have Levi on, because he's our local mastering guy,
Yeah.
we should ask him, when you cut it, do you cut it to account for the media it's going to be pressed on?
Exactly.
Do they even know what the media is going to be pressed on? Because the
Right.
plates could be
Well,
sent anywhere.
yeah.
The plates could be sent to
it
GZ,
could be.
Optimal, Palace.
Yeah.
It could be, but
And do we know that the test pressings are actually pressed on the same media as the final
let
release?
me
We don't know
full
that.
stop
No.
you there. So I have the test pressings for all because Sound Matters cuts that
Mhm.
Dick
Uh-huh.
Rover sent me,
Are
and
they
they're
Neotech?
all Neotech.
Okay, interesting.
So then that means Levi or Chris Bellman, depending on who cut it, would have received those test pressings as well. So the
Right.
exact same formula is there.
Mhm.
I mean, from a manufacturing, my background is in engineering, and you know, process variation is a thing, and material that you're using matters. So if Levi cuts it and they go use crap vinyl and hand it to him to say, "Is this what you wanted?" He'll probably say, "That sounds terrible," you know, or whatever.
Or
I mean,
he doesn't have a say. There's probably
or he-
times when engineers don't have a
maybe.
say, and they probably don't even want to be associated with a certain cut because it's, oh God, it's not what I wanted it to sound like. But
maybe,
you know,
yeah.
they're putting it out anyways. I probably
I don't
bet
know.
that's happened.
But it would be a good question to ask him, like, do they tell you? Because he may have to cut differently depending on, you know, there may be some little tricks, you know, like.
And let's be honest, these guys aren't as involved or as invested in this stuff as we are as consumers. It's like when I like I said, I listen to Kevin Gray talk about this stuff very nonchalantly, and I'm like going,
Yeah.
dude, you had like, you know, and he's like going, yeah, it's another day at the office for them. You know, so
Yeah.
they're not as invested as we are as the music lovers.
We're kind of
I think.
nerds. We're kind of
Yeah.
nerds.
They're
Yeah.
100% not as invested in all this as we are. I can promise you that. Speaking of
Yeah. Oh,
I
Kevin,
know.
Speaking of Kevin, he laughs at this stuff when we're you know, he's like, oh, you guys talking about this stuff again.
I know. He's
Just
like,
play the music already. Just put your record on. Don't worry. But
You know.
remember this one. Speaking of Kevin Gray, this was a Record Store Day exclusive. This is gold vinyl.
That sounds great.
Mhm.
Okay,
It sounds great.
Okay, so it's gold vinyl, but why, Patrick, would this one sound so great? This is a Kevin Gray.
And then they originated on blue vinyl.
Well, colored vinyl's a whole different thing than like
Well,
translucent vinyl. That's a
still
whole
still a
different
different
thing.
formula. But here's the thing:
Well,
makes-
another
what
thing
make-
that comes in is plating, you know. I mean,
Mhm.
what makes this one special is my question to the everyone. This is a Kevin Gray War greatest hits. This
they
is
went
the
to
first.
a quality
No, this is the
place
first one first
Yeah.
time Kevin used an all valve.
Yeah, no, I'm saying from the manufacturing perspective. Like, where was that press? Was that pressed at Optimal or DZ or?
And then
I
they did a blue version of that for Start Your Summer Off too. I have both.
I think you're missing my point, though. The point being, no one complains about this one because it's an all valve, all tube
Mhm.
cut, and it's like colored vinyl. But I don't hear anyone complaining at all about.
I don't think
the
the color matters much anymore.
Yeah,
I think it used to be, but
Not
maybe not
anymore.
anymore.
someone wants to.
Because I
see
mean,
it
look
close
at what's it,
Grand Funk American Band came out on gold vinyl in '74 or whatever, '75,
Yeah.
whenever it came out. It was not.
I mean,
it was
I don't
not
think
quieter
color
vinyl.
matters really anymore. Look at VMP. They do
Although,
all
you know
that
what?
stuff.
Levi Seitz has mentioned that he's gotten records back that are pressed on 2 colors, where it's one color and 180 and one on the other, and he can hear the difference when it's spinning based on the color of the vinyl.
I hear people say white vinyl is the noisiest of the color variants. Is
Could
white.
be, yeah. All my white ones sound really not that great. Like this Radiohead on white sucks.
Although I have a Dutch white vinyl. What is it? Fleetwood Mac Rumors, I think it is. One of the Fleetwood Macs. It sounds pretty good.
Thank
But
you,
what
Mike.
about that German? There's a German, what is it? White Album by the Beatles. That's a DMM cut.
That's DMM. I have that one.
Yeah.
And that one sounds really good, doesn't it?
But I have the UK white vinyl, which is better than the German DMM white vinyl, in my opinion.
really?
One of my favorite white vinyls is this Eric Clapton promo. It's called Eric Clapton
On white.
Clapton on white. And it's a promo record that had 4 songs from Slowhand: Cocaine, The Core on one side, Lay Down
That's why
Sally,
it's
and
white,
Wonderful
because
Tonight
it's
on the
cocaine.
other. Exactly.
There's cocaine in that thing,
yeah.
man.
Yes, there is.
When I had Steve Hoffman on, I believe one of his best sounding records from the Beatles was the White Album, but the white vinyl cut that he had.
Well, there's 2. There's 3 actually. There's the US. There's the UK that came out in '78. Then there's the Direct Metal Master German that came out in like 80.
So
81.
I don't know which one because he
The
talked
UK
about it on
one
my
is the
show.
one I heard is good, right?
The UK one is phenomenal. I
think
that.
it's the
That's what I've
UK
heard.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also have the German DMM, and I think I might have an Italian. I don't know. I have to go look. I have.
Yeah, but I've heard good things about that UK one.
Yeah, the UK one's really good.
So which
So
one
again-
is this one, Patrick? This says Capital white vinyl.
That's the US. It's like SWBO something. Is that the catalog?
the
SWBO
US one.
100.
me
SWBO
see.
100. It should say SW.
SEBX
So, yeah, that's
11.
the US.
11841.
So a lot
So this
of
one doesn't sound good.
So a lot of here,
No.
guys, you
No.
have colored vinyl. You have colored vinyl or variants or whatever. I'm reading through some of the comments. A lot like the sound of their colored vinyl. Here's one I'm gonna put up right now. Who's familiar with Wilco AM? This is
I am.
So this is an incredible sounding album. This was actually a DCC cut mastered by Howie Weinberg, who of course did Nirvana, Nevermind, Sonic Youth, Goo.
That
He did a
matches the
lot
record
of
I was holding
famous.
up. Yeah.
He did
Wait a
lot
minute.
of-
What kind of cut is it?
Pyromania.
Did you say DMM or DCC?
What did I say?
You
DMM.
said
Sorry.
DCC.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
sorry. I'm like going.
Yeah.
Howie Weinberg never cut for DCC. So
Yeah. So sorry, Howie Weinberg. Yeah, this is a Howie Weinberg mastered.
yeah, okay. Now it
Great
makes
sounding
sense.
record.
Yeah, he did Smashing Pumpkins too, like Gish.
Yeah, but color on vinyl doesn't change the formulation, does it? You could have Neotech.
Well, that's
and put
why
green
I'm
Neotech,
that's
right?
why I'm asking. But I mean, this one.
Well, I don't know. Like some of those colors are fillers, and I mean that in Neotech stuff, it always seems to be like translucent, right?
But could
And-
you add color to a Neotech super vinyl, and would it lose
don't
any
know.
of its super vinyl qualities?
I
or
don't
would it
know.
just
I
change
don't
the
know
color?
enough about that.
Well, how
to be
about
honest
how
with you.
about acoustic or analog productions? Their clarity vinyl is that they're adding white.
They're
in there,
taking
right?
stuff
What are they
away.
doing?
They're
Yeah.
they're
Well, that's
taking
how-
the
to me-
carbon out.
That stuff sounds like shit. So yeah.
Yeah, it's noisy.
But
As
do you guys know the theory behind that? That was, I think Michael Fremer mentioned that, him and Michael Hobson. So they were using an anti-static machine to get rid of the static sound in black vinyl, and they found out that clear vinyl didn't have that static sound because the adding the black pellets into the PVC is what made the record.
Everyone
You
needs
know,
to own this.
I've had those bulk demagnetizers and tried that shit way back in the day, and
Yeah.
I would record those things. I never heard a damn difference, man.
Okay.
Never a damn bit of difference.
I
But
used
I had
the little lighter thing.
Yeah.
No, I had I had a big ass like bulk tape eraser,
Remember
massive.
this
It was
guy?
like heavy as shit.
This works. The zero stat. Do you guys have this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that will work
That's,
for.
that's different kind of static. They're talking about static in the vinyl
Just be-
itself. The vinyl
just-
itself was static.
Oh,
Just be careful.
inside
We're only pulling out vinyl and vinyl related stuff, boys.
What about this?
Don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt anybody.
What the hell is that?
That's my zero stat.
No, not you, Brent. What
Me.
the hell is that thing?
Okay.
So
Brent,
this is
one
the
second-
thing.
one
It's called
second,
It looks
the
like
Brent.
the eye. It looks like the eye of Sauron from like.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's called the
Ring.
Ronxus device, and you can buy it on Amazon for like $10, and it's a little like I think they call it plasma.
Looks like a cattle prod.
Yeah, and you use it to light candles. But what it also does is if you run it above your record, it takes all the static off. Like literally.
Now we're getting into the snake.
Okay, I want to
oil.
answer
There
this
we
1
go.
second. So,
I
was there?
tried it.
Hey, Brent, 1
it
second.
does. Okay,
There
I'll be
was no
quiet.
Rhino Hi-Fi release the past month of April? ? That is correct because it's this month. Later on this month. It's not tomorrow. So
But
people
I'm
would
going to
ask me, is it
touch on
tomorrow?
one more thing about static. There's a company called DS Audio that makes the optical cartridges. They also make an anti-static module that you put by your turntable. It's got 3 green lights on it.
Oh,
And
I've seen that.
And it's
Yeah.
supposed to help remove static electricity from your record while it's playing.
Voodoo, baby. Voodoo.
I used to have one of those
Voodoo.
things. Who made that? I can't. It was the same guy did Fozzy video. It was almost like a triangle and it had like a little fan on it, and you'd like put it over your record, and it was supposed to like do the static thing.
It doesn't really
Okay.
change the record sound. Records sound great in general. Yeah, I mean,
So 67 Pepper, if you guys don't want any more kids, come over to Brent's house.
be careful. It will also make you stare. Well, maybe it does. I don't know.
Come
I
over
don't
to
have.
Brent's house.
I don't
You
want
have to-
any more kids. Okay.
Well, here you go. Then come over to Brent's house and he'll fix you up.
We're all old guys now, so.
So if I'm going to vote for whoever did DCC's vinyl, this was some of the quietest vinyl that I've ever heard in my life. This stuff and audio fidelity. I don't know. I'm not.
I think it was RTI Prestos. RTI.
But their vinyl formulation was really, really quiet. Super freaking quiet.
You're saying like this audio fidelity?
No, it's about DCC.
No, what DCC became after they stopped being DCC. They did like some.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the old school audio fidelity.
No, they did like Sade, like Sade,
Yeah.
Diamond Line.
Sade, yeah.
That was the guy from DCC. Yeah.
That's different than audio fidelity record label.
Yes. Well, it was a record label called Audio
Sorry,
Fidelity.
Glenn, sorry to disappoint you. That's not happening for me.
Buckingham Nicks.
No.
I've been getting into those audio fidelity label, actually. They sound good.
Pacific Ocean Blue would be a great reissue.
We should do a gadget episode. You guys can pull out your gadgets. I think that's something I was talking to Michael about. I want to do a full different show just on gear and gadgets and go that direction as well. Sort of.
I'd be ashamed to show
mix
something.
it up a bit.
I've pared back my gadgets, so I wouldn't be ashamed anymore. But yeah,
just a hardware show. We're talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
What about like cleaning your stylus? I use the ultrasonic, but a lot of people wouldn't even. They're like, no, you can't do that. It'll damage it. I don't know. I've been using it for 20 years.
I even have like a cartridge demagnetizer, an old one from Denon. I think it's Denon or somebody. It's like you plug your cartridge into this thing and turn it on. Yeah, it's like, look, is it a Denon, Michael?
No, mine was made by Musical Surroundings. It was Ben's Micro then Aesthetics.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, you know what I figured out just in the last 48 minutes since we started?
That we went off topic immediately.
No, but the vinyl, well, it's the best vinyl formula. It's all subjective, just like
everything's subjective. Yes.
Yeah, it is. But there is trends. I mean, I kind of wish your guy, University of Vinyl, Tim, was on here because he's an aficionado of that. I feel like because he's the Quiet guy, right? I mean, there is a difference. I mean, it does sound quieter. I mean, I think it's just about noise floor.
Maybe when you use Neotech records, you got to swap out your cables for silver cables and then put the copper ones back in for regular pressings.
Oh,
maybe.
I just don't have time for these rabbit holes. That's the thing.
I'm kidding.
But materials matter.
If you hop on one leg while you're putting the frickin' stylus down,
I mean, material science has improved quite a bit since
significantly
the 60s.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And they're probably doing more with less now than they ever have been because, they want it cheap so they can make money. But I'm always amazed at how good if you want to go back to talk about when substrate mattered, it doesn't say it on here, but on my living stereos, it says, Miracle Surface. Do you remember those?
317X, Miracle Surface. And I believe that was propylene glycol. I researched it, being a nerd that I am.
But I mean, they've been talking about substrate for since the 50s. So it seems like it does matter, or it's just a big marketing gimmick. But
I don't think
so.
vinyl formulation's gotten any better at all. I think if they wanted to, they could press vinyl just as quiet as they wanted to. I think it's a matter of money. So I mean,
yeah, and it's process
they already
control.
had quiet vinyl down in the 70s
So
and 80s.
Are you
they already had
saying
it down.
the new vinyl formulas? Am I hearing that it's a marketing thing?
It's all a marketing thing. Everything's a marketing thing. Are you kidding me?
It is a marketing thing. There is a
extended dynamic range, 180 gram, like fucking high definition vinyl.
Quiet.
Yeah,
quiet.
it's all marketing.
But Neotech is super quiet. I'll give it that. I've noticed that it's really quiet.
But they've had quiet since the 70s.
They have, yeah.
Yeah, you have, and that's why they put a sticker on the front that said quiet.
I love Scott Wheeler. The problem with judging vinyl formulas is one would need multiple samples and 0 variables other than the vinyl. Only the labels can do that, and that's what MoFi did. And if you guys are joining us late, what we were discussing, I'll put it up, was what MoFi is doing with Bitches Brew.
That's why I said stylus on their setup. That's what they determined.
So they closely auditioned Bitches Brew on several different vinyl profiles, and they go on to say it's a time-consuming, expensive endeavor. But no other label pursues.
The question is, did they use one setup when they checked all of those? And that's how they determined that it sounded best on that one setup.
I like this part. A time-consuming and expensive endeavor no other label pursues. How did they know no other label pursues?
I know other labels do this too, and they're not the only ones.
But they just said they were the only ones that do it. So they did us a favor. They said, you know what? Instead of giving you our best vinyl formulation, we took the time and effort to give you an inferior product from our own mouths, an inferior product than our super vinyl, but we're going to charge you the same money. We did this for you, all for you, nice people. We did all this for you. So we're going to charge you the same money.
They got to pay for DSD gate somehow, man. Come on.
Yeah. They got to pay for that new pressing plant.
Was that a prattle?
Oh, that's a prattle.
Probably, I mean, to me, that this whole thing is worthy of a prattle. Because it's all just hype.
But you know what? I feel that pressing plant is going to make more money than MoFi. Even they're doing really, really well. Fidelity, people are raving about them.
Every pressing I've had from there so far, because in the dead wax, it says
having a great pressing plant is a bonus. I mean, I don't wish anything.
It says and
Rhino Reserve is using them. I know my friend Gary Coe is using it for his one step. There's people that are using Fidelity record pressings.
Yeah.
Not just.
I mean, I'm not anti MoFi, but I think this whole thing with this, with the vinyl thing is a bit of a not as bad as a DSD gate, but it is kind of a bad look. I think it's kind of disingenuous to say, hey, we're going to give you the quote unquote inferior vinyl for the same cost, and we just did you a favor. Well, I don't like that.
They're not saying it's inferior.
Well, pretty much they are. They're saying, it's not our best. It's not our best vinyl. It's not our best vinyl.
Yeah, and they should have dropped that price back to $99.99.
Yeah, they should have dropped the price. If they would have done that, people would be like, "Oh, you guys are great. Thank you."
But they still have.
I don't know. I like my
still,
MoFi cuts in general.
But it's still a one step. So there's a different process in the traditional 3-step. So that does cost.
So then give people the option. They want it or not.
I don't know. I gotta say that this pressing right here, to me, this is the definitive version of this album.
But you haven't heard the super vinyl pressing. They didn't let you hear it.
That's true, but it sounds amazing compared to all the other stuff I have.
That's a translucent vinyl.
It's translucent.
So what does that mean?
I have 4 of the pressings of this,
Neotech.
all the way back to OG to this. This one just sounds so much more explosive and everything you can hear. Now, is that my preference? Yeah.
Is it better than the Chris Bellman cuts? Is it better than the Chris Bellman issues?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is, in my view.
Okay.
But again, that's just me talking.
I want to go back to Bitches Brew with MoFi. I mean, clearly they whatever they heard on the Neotech versus their 180 gram pressing. They like the sound of their 180 gram dead quiet vinyl, Patrick, not their Neotech for whatever reason.
I think the vinyl formulation matters, but the question is how much.
How much does it matter? Don't charge them for the super vinyl price.
but there's still a
How
one-step
much-
process. So that's more of the
Right.
cost than the super vinyl.
I always heard that the super vinyl was way more expensive than the normal
But
vinyl.
we're now learning if
It
you know,
is.
Brent,
It is
Brent,
more expensive.
But Brent has the Van Halen. That's translucent, and that's the 180 gram dead
Well,
quiet.
translucent
pressing.
doesn't mean anything.
Well, I know, but I didn't know they didn't. It's
I don't
confusing.
know.
It's confusing.
You know what?
Like I said, translucent is just one way the formula. Like I said, Japanese vinyl wasn't translucent, but it was dead quiet. You can have dead quiet vinyl that's not translucent.
Well,
I just know that over my years of looking at this is where it gets kind of controversial. Is most of these older pressings, like first got into translucent vinyl because of my police records. I didn't know anything about translucent until I saw synchronicity and all those, and I'm like, but why do those records sound so great? Is it just well, it's a lot of things, right? It's
they sound good because they were well recorded.
Bingo,
That's
but
number
also
one.
on a nice record that doesn't have a ton of surface.
So
noise.
was Bitches Brew not well recorded? That's what I'm getting back on 1970 Columbia label. Wasn't Van Gelder.
I just recorded a Flotsam and Jetsam album. They're a metal band from the Bay Area. It was 55 minutes long. It was on Electro Records, and it actually sounded freaking phenomenal. No low noise floor. Usually when you cut something 55 minutes, you got to cut the noise floor. You got to raise it up, and you get freaking surface noise. This thing sounded phenomenal. No translucent vinyl, no nothing. Dead quiet, 55 minutes long. Generic Electra, cut by Howie Weinberg. Boom, done. Good job. 1988, and it sounds fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Impex definitely does different formulations as well and tests the different formulations.
I mean, formulations have to matter because if you get all this recycled vinyl, I mean, I've played that. It sounds
recycled vinyl. That's not. I mean that. All right, that's a whole different vibe. That's
right. But I'm saying,
missing everything.
Where's it's like in this art or in this hobby that we're in. We're dealing in splitting hairs with our systems in a lot of ways now, because I mean, you spend $1,000 to get, like a tiny better fidelity, right? I mean, it's like race car drivers. They'll spend $1 million to shave a half a second off their lap time. That's sort of what we're getting at here. Is like the normal user won't give a crap about Neotech vinyl, but we do because we want to hear more out of the record sometimes, not always.
But am I actually hearing more because of the Neotech vinyl? I mean, is it really allowing me to hear more, or is it just letting me hear everything without surface, without clicks and pops? Because Van
Halen's Women and Children First. Look, it says super vinyl right in the website.
Yeah, well.
So are they lying?
I'm so confused. That's not hard to do.
We're so confused. Well,
but does it? Okay, so just again, Brent, does it say super vinyl anywhere in the literature?
No, it doesn't say super vinyl anywhere. What it says is high definition vinyl. That's all it says.
That doesn't say it here. That says, I'm reading it. Guys, just confirm I'm reading it correctly. 45 RPM super vinyl, right?
That's what it says here.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say it here. I mean, it doesn't say it anywhere. It just says high definition vinyl. Now I'm wondering if, and on the sleeve it says the same exact thing. It says high definition vinyl.
You know what we need to do? Rick Hashimoto and his son run Fidelity record pressings. Rick used to work at RTI.
We got to get that guy on here.
We got to get him on the show. That's the only way to find out.
That will fix it all. That will fix the discussion.
It seems to me like they're showing super vinyl, but the record that you have, which is the exact same one that I'm looking at on their website, MoFi's website, it doesn't say super vinyl anywhere on that box or anywhere in the inserts.
No. Okay. And you guys, I know it sounds obsessive, but when you're spending $125 for one record, you should know what you're buying, right?
I wish MoFi.
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
that's a lot of money.
As long as it sounds good, whether it's super vinyl or not, I don't really care. As long as it sounds good, I mean, and not super noisy.
Orange Margin said the only titles I know where they put there's a disclaimer that they listened and it was better on regular than the old black was Bitches Brew and Mariah's Carries One Step. Okay, but the website's still showing super vinyl for Bitches Brew, and it's not, and it's also showing super vinyl for the Van Halen Women and Children First, and Brent has that one in his hand, and he can't see super vinyl anywhere in the
There's
inserts.
no reference to super vinyl anywhere.
Do the
It's
other
just
MoFi box sets say super vinyl in the
here.
back?
I have
My-
other ones. Let me go.
Yeah,
Let me go.
mine are in the back room, so I can't go get them right now. They're in
I
my.
got them. I got mine here.
So
So here's my Van Halen 1, and it says, no, Van Halen 2,
Like the Simon
and
and
it's,
Garfunkel say that on the back.
hey, here, look at this. This says Super Vinyl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a
And this
sticker.
is,
They had a
that's Van
sticker for
Halen
that.
2.
so is this a
And if I
super?
look,
Is this a super vinyl gate?
right, and on the back, it says Super Vinyl TM formula developed and manufactured by Neotech.
Right.
My guess is maybe MoFi has reverse engineered the Neotech compound, and maybe they're buying it from a different supplier.
Or
That'd be
Fidelity.
that'd be illegal, wouldn't it?
Huh?
Fidelity
That'd be
may have done that.
illegal.
Well, it could be illegal if someone were to pursue it.
They can't
But
trademark it, but maybe they have their own formulation now that Fidelity created.
and you know what? I gotta tell you, this is lighter than the other one. If I put this up to the light, this almost looks green compared to the new one.
Why don't you
So
weigh
there-
them? Let's see which one weighs more.
I don't have my scale here, but I could.
Again,
We
we're
could
not
do a
pulling all
whole.
gadgets out today,
You know what?
Patrick.
Yeah, let's do a whole separate show where we bring our scales and we have
All the
records.
scales
That'll
and
be
the gadgets out.
Yeah, that'd be a
So,
whole awesome
getting
show.
back to it, Van Halen, women and children first. She's got the scale.
I mean, if Neotech comes to them
Super
and says, "Hey,
vinyl.
I
Two
can
oh
get
five.
I can get my scale if you guys want. I have it in the back.
It's okay.
No.
I have a
I think
triple
it's
beam, but oh, sorry, that's a different business. Sorry.
I'm trying to.
I wouldn't be surprised if Neotech came to MoFi and said, "Look,
Well, no, we're speculating because it's this. I'm going to go back to this. Well, this is their press release, Brent. They said
Yes.
all of which benefits the original artist and their intent and you, the listener.
right." But the only reason I'm saying is because this is a marketing thing. It says Super Vinyl, whereas this one doesn't say that at all. So it leads me to believe that they made a change in substrate from this to this, but this is something else. But then that also doesn't add up because I have the Instagram where the guy from
So,
Neotech was
Brett-
talking about this.
Was VH2 pressed at RTI or at Fidelity?
RTI.
Yeah, see, this is a different plant.
Yeah, right. So because Fidelity Records wasn't around when they pressed
They were
two.
not. They hadn't opened yet. No.
So
Right,
anything
so-
pressed at Fidelity is not Neotech then.
Or
don't know.
it's some sort of offshoot of Neotech because
It's a hybrid.
Instagram, that guy from Neotech says, thanks for saying how you like.
Can you airbrush
know.
me out of this segment? I don't want to be part of this witch hunt.
Yeah.
I don't want to be. I don't want people to sit there and say you were on that thing. So yeah.
Hey, I just want to say if it sounds good, I don't care whether it says Super Vinyl or not.
I
That's my
care if
view.
it costs $125 and it should cost $99.
They all cost $125. And the reason why is because people will pay it, like me.
Yeah.
I'm an
However,
idiot. I'm
you
sorry.
It's your fault.
My
It's your
head's
fault.
my head's spinning and hurts
you know what?
as well.
Because Sound Matters charges 99 for a single LP, they don't charge 125.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know what, man? I'll just go find me a nice OG bitches brew for $20, and I'd be
There
happy.
you go. Yeah.
You know, I've got
Which
a quad
reminds-
version.
which
I have a quad version that sounds great.
Which reminds me, let's change
Hold
its
on, hold
topic
on.
to
Orange Margin says women and children first is Neotech, but where are you showing it Neotech on your
It's
blog?
not showing.
I'm
Neotech.
telling you, that guy on Instagram told me
So it is.
he responded to me.
Okay.
If it was on Instagram, it's got to be true.
Okay, so then let's conclude this. Then it is Neotech. They just don't have the proper
Well, that
word-
Neotech is just
words
the company.
on it. I know.
It would not surprise me if
Oh.
MoFi has tweaked the original formulation, the original super vinyl formulation, to something that works to them. It may be cheaper. It may be working their pressing machine better. It may have better release properties. You know, I mean, maybe that's why they're calling it high definition vinyl now. I mean, different than super vinyl. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess it just comes back to whether you like it or not.
I mean,
Whether it
this isn't
sounds good.
super vinyl, and this is the Miles Davis Miles in the Sky MoFi. This is a great sounding record. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Subjective, I guess.
How do we get
We don't
stuck on MoFi this entire hour and a half?
because they're going
MoFi
back.
is just one thing in the.
Okay, so-
one player.
Well, no, we talked about other things. I mean, if you look at like this is like
75% of the show's been about MoFi.
well, there's a lot of MoFi
And
in there because
fidelity.
they're the ones that are talking a lot about substrate, right? I mean, like this record, this is the intervention one. It's noisier than my original from surface noise perspective, and I reached out to intervention and said, "Hey, can you tell me the substrate? I'm curious." And I wasn't able to get an answer. So I don't know what they used on this
Well,
one.
maybe
Does it matter?
maybe Steve can get a hold of Shane and say, "Hey,
Is that Got a Groove or is that Got a Groove or RTI? Which version is
Got
it?
a
Got a
groove.
groove.
Got a groove.
I can-
when did you get that? How long ago did you get that?"
Last week. Just
So
got
when
it.
did that come out? So I know that they announced it.
Last week.
So that it only came out last week, really?
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago, tops.
It was out of print
Yeah.
for a while, yeah.
Okay,
was-
when was it? When it was back in print, I don't think it was pressed at Got a Groove. I think it was in print in 2020. I don't know,
It was
when
probably
it come out?
Yeah,
Well, this is
RTI,
a
wasn't it?
fresh.
Yeah.
So this is a fresh mastering, though.
Yeah, originally he used RTI, then he's with Got a Groove now. Shane.
This is
Okay.
coherent from Kevin Gray on his new all tube setup. So this is a different mastering.
But this is
Okay.
it's a digital, not all analog.
Right. And I did talk to Shane actually.
Yeah.
And he told me they use digital files
Yep.
for cutting this. But what's interesting is if you read more history on this specific record, is it was digital tape. And then when you go from D to A and then you cut records, you know, the D to A also affects the sound you get.
Mhm.
So when you're using a file, you know, that can be portable a lot easier, you know, but any rate, I guess you just have to find the one that sounds best for you and
And that's
your
what we
ears.
do. That's why we have these shows. I mean, whatever sounds great. There's a lot of MoFi titles that I really like. Even before DSD Gate, I didn't return anything. I liked the sound of them, and that's the reason why I bought them.
Uh-oh. DB Thou's like, I'm out of here.
No, he's not out here. He's looking for
Too
something.
much MoFi.
Okay, so let's do some picks before we shut her down. So we'll start with Michael T. What else did you bring?
I don't know. I actually, you know what? I've had a busy day, and I went record shopping earlier today, actually, at a local record store. I don't know. I'm just gonna pick some random stuff I just picked up. I don't even know this record, but I found it fascinating. It's a French record called Jane Birkin and Sergei Gainsborough. It's a promo, white label promo on Fontana. I picked this up today. I picked up
$15. It says.
Yeah, I picked up an original RL Journey Raised on Radio that's near Mint today at a local record store.
How much?
I paid $7 for that.
There you go.
Speaking of MoFi, I picked up a classical MoFi for $4. Sibelius.
Brent.
Yeah.
PQ
Okay.
has a question there.
I
Where
picked up.
does it say that Joe Jackson was done on the tube system? Well,
All
I
right,
talked to Shane. I
so
talked to Shane about it, and he told me it was done with Kevin recently at his new coherent setup.
So this was done in 2021 by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. This in 2021 they cut this on at Coherent Audio.
But I'm under the impression that this one was.
Did they use the old place or they recut it? That's the question.
This was an original cut. This was 2021. This was the first.
I think this was recut.
Okay.
I think it was recut.
What's the matrix say on your on the dead wax?
Let's check it.
Mine says SR S 297. Mine's definitely got an RTI stamp number on it.
Mine says.
Does the place have the RTI? There's going to be a dot with a number afterwards.
Yeah, that's what mine has. So mine is definitely RTI.
Because they might have taken the place.
It says KPG at CA.
And then there should be a number with dot
but
one.
Then there should be another number with a dot.
Or dot one, dot two, dot three. Yeah. That's RTI's.
There's no dots anywhere here.
So what do you
But
see
this-
beside? Well, you have the KPG at CA, but there should be another number like SP something.
Yeah, right. So the other thing I see here is 29785
Mm-hmm.
Dot something, right?
dash 3 in parentheses,
There's a parentheses for the number, right? That's
Yep.
that's RTI.
That's
plating.
RTI.
and I see ... on that.
So
Well,
that's RTI.
Gotta Groove does not do plating, by the way. So he'll have
And
them
it
plated.
says IR
Yeah.
030-A.
So he does. The funny thing is, Gotta Groove will not plate, and they send him to RTI for plating, and then they come to Gotta Groove.
Right. So it says KPG at CA.
That's
And
Kevin
I know
Gray.
that intervention wasn't Shane on your call or a few months ago?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he
And
said this. I thought he said this was a new cut from the tube.
Patrick, well, okay, Patrick, is that a 45 yours or is it a 30?
Yes, mine's a 45. Yes.
Okay, so it's probably the same plates.
Yes.
I don't know.
When did Gotta Groove come online? How long have they been around?
They've been around for over 10 years.
Okay.
From Cleveland,
I guess
Ohio.
the question is, does yours
Oh no,
say
Gotta Groove? Yeah, about 10 years. Yeah. Sorry.
does
12
yours
years?
say
12 years.
3 ...
I'd have to go pull it out. I think it does. Let's see.
So in the meantime, my other exciting find today was I got an original first
Love
press
it.
of Bob Dylan mono.
I was going to
bringing
say
it all
that's
back
that's the
home.
mono one. That's the one you want.
Yeah, mine says 3 ... So yeah.
This is pretty awesome. I haven't played it yet.
So it's the same pressing, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Same plates.
Well, it makes
Just a
sense if
different
Gotta Groove
place.
doesn't plate. They use the same plates. This press set Gotta Groove instead of RTI, right? Prior.
Well, I was under the impression that this had been remastered recently from Kevin.
I also picked up today at Toulouse Street an original on the olive green vinyl. That's kind of
Is that translucent?
Is that 200 gram?
That's 1972.
It's audiophile.
I also
show and tell time or what?
I also recently picked up a Ted Jensen Sterling of Some Girls.
Ooh, and I don't think
I got to listen to that. I haven't had time to hear it yet.
just to go back to Joe Jackson, it was not a tube cut. It would not have been a Kevin Gray tube cut on that one. Just going to tell
It's
you.
not.
No
Okay.
way. I don't want that
So-
rumor going out. There's no way it was.
So it was the old whatever he was doing.
As far as I know, Kevin's two
Yeah.
recordings, he used all tube plus the one I showed you guys, the War Greatest Hits. That's all tube. Those are the only three that I know that he's done.
I think he took the metal parts from RTI and moved them over to Gotta Groove. That's what happened.
Well, that could explain why it's a lot noisier.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that Gotta Groove is an upgrade from RTI.
Yeah, maybe I should seek out an RTI cut.
Do you have the RTI cut, Michael?
But how would you tell? Because you do have the RTI matrix, so I mean, it was plated there.
But again, different vinyl formula. Different vinyl formula. This is our whole point.
So the way you can tell, Patrick, on his hype sticker, he says "Press the Gotta Groove." That's what he put on the hype sticker.
So other than that, though, there's no way to tell on the dead wax.
No, there isn't. Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you could see. Well, the liner says "Gotta Groove," right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's not really provenance. I could sit there and put like Big Fudge on there, and it would.
Well, no, right. But I mean, if the one that you have comes in a different sleeve, that is like that says RTI or is just blank or something.
I resleeve everything, so it wouldn't have. I wouldn't have kept it. So.
Yeah. So too bland.
I keep the originals and I put them in the
upcoming.
sleeve.
That's the Zeppelin. That's the one you were talking about last week, Steve. The box set.
Yeah.
All two by Kevin Gray, right?
Yeah. I did.
Fantastic.
I cut that into
the Zeppelin box set. You're right.
Well, how can I order that? How can I get it?
You go through me.
Okay.
If Glenn Minnett's watching, I have to call Glenn first before anyone. I promised him that it was never to happen.
And that's the $24 million that Jimmy Page is going to make, right? You said?
You saw that. I cut it into a short. I got some viral action. I loved it. And the War RC. So there should be three tube cut, all tube cut, all valve cut. Kevin Gray's and the War is
so
one
this
of them.
is not tube cut. Okay.
100%.
All right,
No, it's
then
just
that's
that
good to know.
he has what? He has 2 releases on his label, right,
Yeah,
Steve?
and a third one coming up now, like right away, right?
Well, and
Yeah.
all the Rhino high fidelity are all off the tube.
I don't think they are. Are they? Are they
No,
right
they're
on fidelity?
not. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. None of them
What
are.
are they off of then? The Rhino high fidelity.
Well, it's just Kevin Gray's normal console that he cuts
Solid
in.
state. Yeah.
It's all solid state. No tube on the
Oh,
Rhino Hi-Fi. I don't want that to ever be a rumor. 100% not the case. It's all
So
solid
why
state.
doesn't
interesting.
why doesn't he cut that with the tube system?
Don't know. Can ask him.
Interesting. So that's only reserved for his pressing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know why
Although
he
he
decided.
did it on the war, which was an odd.
He was testing it out, basically.
I
He
think he
didn't tell
was,
anybody.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And that one, I mean, that's yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, again,
Well,
this is a colored vinyl, gold vinyl, 5500 limited edition, all
well,
valves.
the Rhino hi-fi sound great. I can't even imagine what it would sound like
Yeah.
on his tube system.
Yeah. So
I mean-
VQR summed it up. The only things ever cut from his tube setup are the war and his labels
Coherent records.
Well, that's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank-
It takes him a long time to swap it out. He mentioned that on an interview one time.
Thank
Somebody's
you,
talking about that.
VQR, for that information.
Yeah, it takes over a day.
So he doesn't have 2 rigs that he can just plug together.
It's a separate studio. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never
When we
been there,
had-
so I wouldn't know.
Well, his system is, I mean, obviously from when Matt Luthens came on, Michael.
Yeah.
When Matt Luthens was talking about when he works with Kevin in
Yeah.
California at his studio, how unbelievable Kevin's equipment is.
But speaking of Matt Luthens, the mastering lab is all tube, their gear. People don't know that.
So go say that again.
The mastering lab that Matthew Luthens uses for Analog Productions is all tube. That was Doug Saxon's system.
That's Doug
So
Saxon's stuff.
that's the all TML.
It took him
Yeah,
5 to 6
Master,
years to record it.
Master
Yes.
Slave
So-
and Hex.
That's an all
They-
tube setup.
So
yes.
that'll be, you know, what's going to be cool about that? There's going to be some Rhino reserves that are coming out
Yes.
that Matt Luthens will be
Mhm.
cutting, which will be all
And
tube then
this-
through
this-
Rhino Reserve label.
The story on that is they got the equipment and there was no documentation. So they had to go back and reverse engineer everything. That's why it took 6 years to get it running.
I would
Yeah.
prefer the tube cut
Me too.
on the mastering lab than
I love tube cuts. Me too.
so.
I'm excited about that.
So I don't think
Yeah.
we didn't start another gate today, did we, Michael?
We almost did in a
uh,
way.
You know,
with-
here's what I want to find out. I want to find out, does Fidelity record pressings have a high definition of vinyl formula that is different? And if so, how is it different than super vinyl? Because they're charging the same price, $125.
right.
That's what I want to know.
Michael, I think Michael, in your tracking angle work, you need to sort that out. Don't you write for the tracking angle?
I've done a
Somewhat.
few interviews and stuff, but yeah, not lately,
Oh.
but I have. Yes.
Oh, well, either that or do it for us.
Yeah, for us.
Thank you. All right.
Well,
So
let's leave it at that. I think we've solved another hour and 18 minutes of all world problems.
We haven't
We're off
solved
to-
anything.
Off to the UN tomorrow to really
We've
help
caused
out
hey,
problems.
the
I
government.
have a real quick question for Mr. PB Thal, since he's here, and I think others may find it interesting. There's another YouTuber out there by the name of Tony's LPRS. Did anybody watch him?
Yeah,
He's
I
a
know
guy.
Tony.
I think he's like Brooklyn or New York or something.
Yeah.
At any rate, he had one the other day with this,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, Dreamboat
Which is-
Annie.
which is also coming out on my MoFi, right? But
I
anyway,
only cause headaches. Thanks a lot, Anthony.
Headache.
he
We'll find
said
out.
that
We'll solve this.
he says that you got it, and so I went out and I seeked out the mastering that he got, which has this really small
Got the
dead wax
mushroom.
areas.
That was
It has-
actually It was recorded in Vancouver as well.
Right. But
And mastered
this
at Kendon, I believe.
Kendon, right?
Yes, Kendon
But
is the
this one
master.
has a very small dead wax area compared to a lot of them have really big dead
And
wax.
they also have a little information. They wrote a statement in the dead wax. There should be
Right.
a,
So what
it says
this?
"Go for it" magazine, and so yeah.
Yes, Go For It magazine, and then the other side says
I'm
it's
well familiar with that. So
it's
Yes.
in the
intimately
wax.
familiar with
It's
it.
in the wax.
To the max. To the max.
It's in the wax
to the max.
Yes, it's in the wax.
And
Yep. That's the one
and
they
I
have.
listened to this and I compared it to my Friday music one. I like this one way better.
Way better.
Not me, because there's a dropout on Crazy on You on that one. So
well, the cool part is you can hear the celeste and stuff on the end of the song. Last song.
I stick by my claim that the Friday music, and I'm not a Friday music apologist, is miles better than Dreamboat Annie.
What about the Nautilus? There's a Nautilus version too.
Which Nautilus? There's two different Nautilus versions, and they're both inferior to the Friday music, in my opinion.
I see you'll be buying the MoFi one coming up then, right?
I probably won't.
Not buy that.
Somebody will buy it and send it to me. So yeah.
Maybe I'll buy it.
Patrick, how long were you in New Zealand for?
I was there for 2 weeks.
Okay. So I was going to mention this at the start of the show. The tone arm I use is made in New Zealand. This is by a company called The Wand. I'm going to show it real quick. Can you guys see it okay there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
looks
the
like,
wand.
Looks like a fat boy.
It's a carbon fiber tone arm.
Is that the one that has the little string that you pull?
Yeah, it's a carbon fiber tone arm made by The Wand in New Zealand. 12-inch tone arm.
Is that the one that Fremer had that had the little string to pull it up?
No, that's a different arm.
That's a different arm.
Yeah. Okay. And the guy, I got to know him. He gave me a prototype of the next arm he's making, so I'm going to be looking at that soon.
Johnny C. Yes, Kevin Gray did cut.
So speaking of vinyl, I probably brought 80 records back home, and I brought a handful of New Zealand variants of stuff. And I've been really impressed with the quality of the vinyl that New Zealand has. There's some unique Beatles picture sleeves that I got, but the stuff that I've listened to has been really, really nice and clean. But the weird thing about New Zealand is I was expecting a lot of UK pressings, and there was more US pressings in New Zealand than I anticipated. More US pressings than UK or Australian pressings. It was very.
I wonder what kind of substrate they use. Do they use super vinyl there? Or?
No, but I think they had limited runs. I mean, so they didn't press a lot. So
maybe their stampers had a little less.
Yeah, so I've been pretty surprised with how clean and how quiet the vinyl is. So far, so good. But like I said, I bought it, and I said if you go now, the dollar is so strong against their stuff. Like I was picking up stuff, but I left so much stuff behind because I couldn't fit it in my bags.
How was the food there? Was it good?
They have really good fish. For a country that says they're a dairy, like a meat country, they can't cook a burger to save their ass, and they can't cook potato. They're not very good at that. But the people are amazing, and if you're going to go there and drink beer, if you don't like IPAs, you're shit out of luck. Because the only thing they sell there are pretty much IPAs. I had to go to a Belgian bar to get a Belgian beer. I literally didn't drink at all because there was nothing. But I did go to Hobbiton, so yes. Actually, on my stream tomorrow night, the trailer is actually my walk through a Hobbit hole. So yeah. So anyway, I highly recommend going to New Zealand, but it's a long flight. It's a
14
long
hours.
way away. It's like the other side of the world, literally. So it's awesome.
So the Earth
far
isn't
away
flat
from
like
all
you
the
thought,
mess
Patrick.
here in America.
Patrick,
what did you say, Steve?
I said the Earth isn't flat like you thought it was.
No. But I did go to Flying Nun Records. I went to the store from Flying Nun Records, and that was pretty cool. I went to both places. They have a store in Christchurch and Auckland. And really, really nice, super nice people. They're amazing people. Yeah. So South Island and North Island. So, anyway, enough about me.
All right, guys. Well, we'll leave it at that. This has been awesome. In the end, I guess it depends on a lot of different variables, right? Start with the tape, the mastering processes, the plating, and then from there, the vinyl. And we know that MoFi is testing different formulas.
Once this stream is over, everybody go outside, open your window, and yell, "We're mad as hell, MoFi, and we're not going to take it anymore." Remember,
No.
everybody go outside and yell that.
I'm going to go yell, Neotech VR900!
Oh,
No one's going to know what I'm talking about, are they?
No,
Well,
no,
surely
they're
this is a controversial topic, Steve. I
they're
think
gonna go
we've
Michael
touched on
T's
a
office
nerve.
rocker again. Yeah.
But you know what? Steve, we should really get Fidelity on at some point. Really should. Talk about
Okay.
their pressing plant.
Yeah.
Maybe talk with Rick Hashimoto and find out what they're using.
Yeah.
Maybe they can do a little tour while we're there.
He'll probably
Go
tell
through
you
it.
our stuff is way better than super vinyl because we've, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
There you are. Well, guys, everyone that's watching, it's been a good show. I don't want this to be controversial. I don't know if it is or was, but we'll figure
Yeah, I
out
just
the
think
super
everybody
vinyl.
has a little bit of a different opinion on
I don't
substrate.
think it's gonna move the world problems meter or anything.
Yeah.
No. No, it doesn't.
We
for
have
sure.
a guy watching in the UK and it's 5:25 a.m. and they're watching us.
Spin the black circle. He's up early, man.
Nice.
Shout it out. 5:25. That's too early. You
Rewind.
You want to watch and
Rewind.
listen to us?
Thanks for calling in, guy.
5:25 a.m. That's crazy to me.
That's early,
Anyways,
dude.
guys, thank you everyone for watching. Michael T,
Yes.
Brent,
Thanks,
Peacock,
guys.
Thank you.
great. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and I guess we got the weekend tomorrow. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
See you next
guys.
time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
the invite.
Good night, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.
So long.
Bye.
Farewell.